Hi, welcome to another edition of MTG Playback. It's where I, a actual pastor who lives in northern New Jersey, plays a game on Arena and then talks about it afterwards. The whole goal is to try to get better at my gameplay and to see what my opponents were doing and what I was doing and maybe figuring out what I could have done differently or better. So, if you've been following along for the last week, I'm playing another Angel deck. The idea going wide and going above my opponent and going over the top. And I'm really curious to see how this deck plays, but also what my opponents are playing. We're entering an RCQ season that's going to be about Standard, and I love Standard. Standard is my bread and butter. It's where I put my energy in. It's also where I'm not very good at. And I'm curious about the RCQs in my community and what decks will be there. I'm hoping what I see on Arena will be a reflection of what I see locally. There was a RCQ held in my state, not yesterday. I'm recording this on Sunday, so it was held on Saturday, and I noticed that some of the decks that went in the top 8 and the one that won were an Esper deck, which I'm hoping I can run into those over and over again, and just to get used to playing against them, especially with the new cards from WoW, LCI, etc. So let's get into this game today. As you can see, here's my opening hand. I have 3 colors in my deck. I really only have 1 on here, but I have an instant at least I can play. I have a couple of 3 drops. It's probably not the best hand to hold, but you know what? Since I'm kind of experimenting with this, I'm going to just hold on to it and see what happens. Inspiring Overseer actually is kind of one of my favorite cards, even though it's not a very powerful card. I think it's very good in the sense of really matching what angels are. Again, like I said, angels in scripture are always just messengers from God, and so it's neat just to see here's an overseer, someone that's lingering around. All right, so it looks like we're playing against a mono red deck. This might not be great. Yep. So I'm kind of curious why they played the Phoenix Chick first, but it looks like they've missed a land drop. So I'm curious, are they going to cast another Phoenix Chick, which is going to have the +1/+1 next turn? I'm curious about that. I do have a Get Lost in my hand. I did get another land, so I will be able to start casting, say, my Wandering Emperor or Sigarda Font of Blessings if I live that long. So we're going to see what happens. Now this makes me curious. I figured by this point they would have put a land. They would have put it. All right, there's the land. Here comes another Phoenix Chick. That's what I thought would come in. They're going to pop it in there. It's going to get a +1/+1. And so I've got to decide what to do. Do I kill one of them? Do I kill another? Or do I wait to kill the Saga when it comes back next turn? So I seem to be trying to figure out what to do. My opponent also seems to be very taking their sweet time trying to figure this out as well. All right, there they go. All right, great. So they play another creature. When it enters, it's going to ping me. It's going to create a blood token. And so I decide, you know what? I'm going to get rid of one of them right out. Actually, I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of their enchantment. So what I did in that case actually is I made a mistake. I should have done that at the very beginning before they could get that +1/+1 counter. So that was a pretty big mistake on my part. I should have killed it sooner. Because I kind of knew that they were going to have another Phoenix Chick or something in their hand. So that was a mistake on my part. Drew another land. I decided to put another 2/1 in there to get another card, just to have a blocker in place. All right, they've got another one of those. I get pinged. I'm down to 13. I'm going to get overrun pretty quick. Yep, they made something bigger, a 5/3. I figured as such. So I'm trying to decide, what do I do? What do I do? So as you can see, that mistake of not killing that thing sooner was a pretty big one. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to kill something and get rid of that. All right. Now I have some options. I have several lands in my hand. So you know what I'm going to do? Right now I'm just trying to live, to survive. So I'm going to let's get rid of this Phoenix check. We're going to exile it so it can't come back and gain a couple life. Now I'm at 10. They've still only had 2 lands, so they've been missing their land drops. I'm expecting them to cast a creature, and they didn't. Now that kind of was surprising. They're just pinging me, but they ping my Planeswalker too, so that's actually a pretty smart move on their part. But it means they also don't get that +1/+1 on their creature, which means that was a bit of a waste. So they finally drew that land that I bet that they were waiting for. So I think they're kind of stuck because they're not getting the lands that they want, and they're not getting the card. They're getting cards, but they're not getting the cards that actually kind of have a nice little curve to them. And so here we go. They're going to pump that up to a 2/2. Makes sense. Boom. Now I know next hand one of the sagas is going to turn to a 2/2. I finally get my Giada Font of Hope. I have those 4/4. I have the other ones. I also have a Faerie Mastermind. So now I'm trying to think about how do I stabilize the board, knowing that a 2/2, at least one 2/2 is going to be heading my way, possibly 2 2/2s. So my options, I could do this is exactly what I decided to do. You know what? I'm going to get that on there. I'm going to get this, so at least I have a 3/2. Draw another card, gain another life, and hope that my Giada at least survives one more turn. Alright, so there I have 2 2/2s, and I have a 3/2 and another 2/2. Nope, here comes Godric. And it's going to be a 5/5, and it's going to fly. Because 2 permanents came in. For that's the celebration effect. Now so now they come after me. They have, let's see, that's 9 damage on the board. I have to block. And I can't, so I'm trying to figure out, can I kill something? But no. Do I go down to 3? Then I put myself at risk of a, what's it called? Of a lightning strike. So I've just got to get, right. So this is actually, again, not stabilizing the board. This is actually a pretty big loss for me. And I drew another land. So what do? I've got 3 creatures in hand, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 land. Oh, that was a mistake. So finally, you know what? I'm gonna attack. Get them down to 18. Now I'm figuring out how many creatures, what creatures do I put on the board, knowing that I need stuff. Right. So order matters here. Since I have these angels. So I'm not quite sure if this was the right order to do. Actually, I think it was. So that goes in. It gives everything else, all my other permanents, hexproof. So it means they can't be targeted by a lightning strike. So that's helpful. I could still be, though, so that's damaging. I do have a Steel Seraph on top of the library, which is kind of exciting as well. So my plan originally, if there was nothing interesting on top, I would have just done my Inspiring Overseer, and then would have gotten +2 and +2 when it came in, so it would have been a 4/3, which would have given it some options. Oh, and I couldn't cast the Steel. Oh, I could have cast the Steel Seraph. Huh. So I'm not quite sure why I didn't do that this turn. Because if I cast the Steel Seraph, it would have come in pretty big. 1, 2. It would have come in as a 6/6. And I only have 2 lands available. Oh, because I wanted 3 lands rather 3 blockers rather than 2. So that's why I did that. All right, here comes Mechanized Warfare, which is just so annoying because it's gonna mean every one of their damage is gonna be just +1. That's going to put me in a pretty dangerous spot. They've got this one card. They got this spellcaster. They've got a 5/5. They're going to pump it up, make it bigger. Luckily, it doesn't have trample. I'm grateful it doesn't have trample. So they've got lethal on the board, so I have to block, right? So I have to block. So I'm like, all right, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put the Faerie Mastermind in there. I have 4 life. I'm going to block that, jump block that. I'm going to kill something, and I'm going to kill that, which is not great, right? Because I'd like to have a pump, but I can only go down to 2 damage. So, all right, so we're down to 1 life. I've got 1 life. But they only have 1 card in hand and doesn't have haste. So I need to pump. I need life, right? If they get a lightning strike or something, I'm dead. I'm just dead. But look what's sitting on top of my library. So I'm trying to decide what to do. And do I cast the Steel Seraph or do I cast the Metropolis Reformer? And Metropolis Reformer gives me hexproof, so they can't target me with the lightning strike. I need blockers. It would have been really nice to get out of there and pump both my Inspiring Overseer and my Metropolis Reformer up, but I think I did what I had to do. So it really depends on what they've got in their hand. I've got blockers, right? Like, I've got blockers. He can't go over the top because all mine are flying. Here comes something with Trample and Prowess, which is bad for me. And sorry if you hear that noise in the background, that's just my dishwasher in the other room. It's being very loud. Alright, so they attack, which is interesting here. So I decide to... I'm worried that they have a shock or something in their hand, right? And I can't lose Sigarda. Sigarda is too big and it's too powerful. So I'm going to kill something, kill one of their creatures and lose on 1. And then when Metropolis Reformer gets hit, I am going to then gain life. I do have a Steel Seraph. I have 1 more blocker in my hand. Again, this is not great. I'm just treading water here. But I'm playing that they have something in their hand. So, I get damage. They're waiting, like, are they going to respond? Are they have a lightning strike? Are they going to kill me? And this kind of where my Metropolis Reformer, where I don't have hexproof. Like, I'm playing very dangerously at this point, and I'm not quite sure if there was another way I could handle this to keep my protection as long as possible. And as you can see, the only thing else on my hand, on my top of my library, is a land. So, like, I'm kind of running out of options here. But they seem to be taking their sweet time, which is probably not usually where a red aggro deck wants to be. They wants to have options. And let's see, maybe I can fast forward this a little bit. All right, so they might have timed out for a second. They might have had to restart or something. So we're going to play Plains. I have 7 life now. I've got another Angel on top. We're going to play that Angel. Oh, yes, right. I think they timed out a little bit. They might have restarted. Let me just fast forward a little bit. There. All right, then they wake, and then I'm going to cast the Steel Seraph. Get my blockers in place. I think they just timed out a little bit. All right, there, it's in place. And then I thought about, do I do life gain or do I do vigilance? And I realized I need blockers. Just in case they cast one more thing, I need as many blockers as I possibly get. So I give it vigilance. Yeah, they had timed out. And then this is where you're going to see in 1 second that they had that. So they did have a lightning strike in their hand, and I'm not quite sure why they didn't use it. I think if they had used it after my Metropolis Reformer had died, like I was playing around that card. I was playing around that they had that card, and I think there was an option where they could have killed me. Because when the Metropolis Reformer died, they could have hit me with damage. Because I don't think damage goes on the stack. So anyways, I think that's... If I might be wrong. If I am wrong, please let me know. Alright, so I draw a Wedding Announcement. And I finally have a counterspell. And another land. I decide, you know what? Get the Wedding Announcement out. It gives me a blocker. Again, I have 3 life, right? I don't have hexproof. So what do I do at this point? Like, they have a trample, I have something big, but I need life. They can easily kill me if they get another lightning strike in their hand or something like this of the sorts. Witchstalker, Frenzy, there's like a lot of things that could kill me at this point. So I decide, you know what, I'm going to try to get some life. And then I keep it in my hand just to be print. So now I've got 3 blockers at least. They're going to get 1 card. They're not getting the direct damage they want, which is good for me. So they're slow, so yeah. Yep, there's that lightning strike, so I'm glad they drew exactly what it is. I'm going to go down to 2. They're going to transform that creature. So now they have a 4/4 with Ward. That actually is going to do 5 damage and has trample. And this is where they attack, which is probably the only thing they could do at this point because they're down to 8. I could easily just go over the top. And so now I'm trying to figure out what my blocks are going to be. And this is where having Plaza of Heroes is having Plaza of Heroes available, and I have 3 mana available, makes all the difference. So, before blocks, knowing they have nothing in hand, I'm going to exile it. Give my 5/5 indestructible. And then just jump block. Wipe that off the board. Survive. Have another land on top. Have a make disappear. I have 2 life. I have 10 damage in the air. They've got nothing. And that is where I could have killed them. So that's another big mistake in my hand. So here's Phoenix Chick, but that's it. So then they give up. That was a mistake. I should have killed them at that 1 turn. But you know what? I'll take the victory. So that's a very, very long game against a red aggro deck. As you can see, there were a couple of big mistakes that I made in the one in the very, very beginning, and then one near the end. Luckily, it didn't kill me this time, but those kinds of mistakes will add up, and they'll get me next time. So thank you for watching this edition of MTG Playback, and I will see you next time.